For the past few years, a single camera has been rising in popularity amongst adventurers, cyclists, and other such people who may need such a small and compact camera for this reason or the other. As a result of the rising popularity, this camera has seen multiple iterations, each with added benefits and features over the previous model. However, its popularity has also brought competition. Competition that is willing to give premium features seen on £300 GoPros for a fraction of the price. Emphasis on fraction. This is the Extral HD action camera, and today I'm going to show you why this little thing is such a big deal. So I came across this camera when a company called Banggood reached out to me via email and said, hey, we'd like you to review something, and in return we'll give you free stuff. And I was like, hell yeah, free stuff. Hell yeah, I'll review that thing. And yes, that does mean that this review is sponsored by Banggood.com. I'll have a link down below if you want to buy this camera. At the time, I was making a short film in the first person perspective, and so when one of the employees over there pointed out this GoPro-like camera, I was very intrigued. We agreed this would be the first thing that I would review, and so they sent it out to me, and within 2 weeks it arrived. And to be honest, I was actually very surprised by how well the camera was actually presented. It came in this really nice high quality box with plenty of stuff inside, but I'll get to this a bit later on. But first, specs, and you know, for such a small device they packed a lot of really good features into this little thing. So resolution wise, it can do 4K, so 3840 by 2160 at 24 FPS. It can do 1440p at 30 FPS. It can do 1080p at 60 FPS. And of course it can do 720p at 120 FPS. And yes, in here there is a dedicated slow motion sort of thing built into it, which is a nice addition. It also features a 170-degree wide-angle lens, a 2-inch LCD display on the back, a 16 megapixel just, you know, single shot camera, and on the side here we have support for micro SD, mini HDMI, and also a micro USB port for charging, and a charging cable is provided. There's this like smaller one, I think it's like what, 30-40 centimeters long, something like that. Dimensions of the camera itself, I believe, is 6 centimeters in length, 4 centimeters in height, and 3 centimeters in depth. It has a 900 mAh battery. Continuous recording, it can go to about 70 minutes, but if you're shooting with this, then it will last for about an hour and a half-ish, maybe 2 hours if you take it easy. Charging time, it takes about 3 hours to charge up to 100%, which isn't actually too bad. I thought it would be much worse than that. And battery-wise, also you can, if you undo this bit, swap out the batteries there. There's like a little tag and you can pull it out, although I don't think it comes with a spare battery, which is a bit annoying. So that's the specs out of the way, but how does this little thing do in color reproduction? Now personally, I found when comparing this to my, well not my, but my college's GoPro Hero 3, which I used to film a short film, this did much better. Like, I'll have some footage up now. So I recorded these sample shots today and the sky was really blue, and this little camera really did a great job at giving it justice. It was so blue and quite true to life actually. And I had a shot of my tea because I know exactly the colour that I make my tea to, and who'd have thought it, but that is a good way of measuring the colour accuracy of said camera. It's got to be the most British thing I think I've ever said. But how does it fare in low light? Now this was a big gripe that I had with the Hero 3. In low light, this thing actually performs admirably. I took it for a little bit of a test drive around my house, in the garden, you know, adjusting to the sun and then back to like my hand. It did it really well, so that was good. Focusing wasn't too bad. And that was at 4K. It did really well at 4K with low light situations. So walking around my corridors where there isn't any windows, it did quite well. It was when I dropped it down to 1080p that I started to see some issues. For example, looking at my dog, who is, you know, just pretty much plain black apart from his white socks. You couldn't really make out much detail at all because this thing just performs so crappily at low light at 1080p. Strangely though, dropping the resolution down to 720p saw some of that detail come back. Now obviously the image was much softer, but even so, I can't really explain why. I could see a lot clearer at 720p in low light situations than I could at 1080p. If someone in the comments section could clear that up for me, that would be much appreciated. Generally though, low light performance is pretty good, especially for such a small camera. Microphone quality on this thing is actually really surprising.
Are you making some tea?
Oh my god, 4K action camera. Fucking hell.
Yeah, microphone quality on this thing is actually like insanely good, especially for the price. It's a shame that when you put it in a casing like this, which you kind of need to because you can't really use this on any like mounts or accessories unless you have it in here. But once you put it in here, all of that sound quality just gets lost because this is a waterproof casing. I will mention that this casing, while we're on that subject, it's quite easy to just pop off once you suss it out. It is smaller than the GoPro one because this is a smaller camera than the GoPro. That does mean that you cannot use GoPro casings, which is a bit of a shame if you have GoPros and want to try out this one. But nevertheless, it does its job. This one is waterproof up to 30 meters, I think. So not too bad there. Same with the GoPro, although it might be 40. Now I've got a few gripes with the frame rates. The frame rates at 1080p weren't consistent really. I was walking around and when I looked at the ground, it would just drop the FPS down to what looked like 30. And then when I looked back up, it would go back to 60. And it would be really inconsistent, and that may actually be because of my SD card that I'm using. It may not be fast enough, although it seemed to be fine with 720p 120 FPS recording, so maybe I'm wrong there. Maybe it is a fault with the camera. Another gripe I have with the FPS is the fact that this is only 4K up to 24 FPS. Now that's really annoying because this being a 4K camera at this budget is really good. But it is, after all, an action camera, so you're going to be putting it on your head, on a head mount, and you're going to be riding your bike down hills, or skydiving, or going diving, and really 24 FPS to some people, if not all people, just may not be enough to capture all of those moments in the fluidity that these moments, you know, kind of need. So that's just something to consider when thinking about purchasing something like this. That being said, it is quite versatile, so if you did need FPS over video quality, then you can drop it down to 1080p to get that nice smooth 60 FPS, as long as it's not inconsistent like it is on my one. The slow motion on this is really good, as I said before. 120 FPS is really nice, and it does give some really good results for slow motion. Snowboarding or skating around a skate park, this little camera for such a small budget would do you really well. So given that fact, what is this camera good for? So this camera is pretty much good for anyone really, anyone who's looking to use a compact and budget friendly solution. So if you're a vlogger and want something cheap to take with you, say on holiday, if you want to go diving, then you can make use of this case and you can use this. That would be a really good buy for this, like honestly, ideal. In fact, I'm trying to find a hard time of thinking like who this isn't for, to be honest, because at such a low price, it's really hard to not justify buying it, especially if you're thinking about it for a specific purpose. But is it worth it versus a more expensive GoPro? Now, it depends what you're looking for. Obviously, a more expensive GoPro may give better color results, although I can't quote that. As long as you're Hero 4 and up, I would say. It may give, you know, better battery life, a better UI. So it's all about what you're comfortable with. Like if you're comfortable spending £50 to get just a budget basic camera for your needs that will actually suit your needs, then this is worth it over a GoPro. But if you are ready to spend the premium to get the more premium features, then obviously you know, the GoPro may be worth it to you, especially if you'll be using it a lot. But now, getting to the end of this video, let's go through pros and cons. So the most obvious pro we have to just nail out there is, of course, the price. For such a small compact camera, £50 is incredible value. And also value, you know, you get so many good features with this little camera, it's hard to say no to. The camera also comes in various different colours. You can see like a green, a beige, a blue, yellow, pink, red and black. Now it says that I got a beigey one or a creamy one, but I didn't. I got a black one. I also forgot to mention earlier that this is Wi-Fi compatible, so you can download an app and use it from your smartphone, which is a nice addition, although I haven't personally had any reason to use it from my phone. Size, this thing is really compact, and I keep saying that a lot, but it is true. Like, it can fit in your pocket, it can fit in your hand luggage, it can fit anywhere. If you want to go travelling, then again, versatile people. One thing that I loved about the packaging here was the fact that you get so many accessories. Package includes a 4K sports camera, waterproof housing, a handlebar, a helmet mount, bandages, batteries, lens cloth, USB cable, a charger, and a user manual, but it felt like there was much more in that. Again, you'll see that in the unboxing of this. Furthermore, the packaging itself is really high quality. I was very impressed with the packaging that this gave. The fact that it's so good in low light without being all that grainy, especially at the I forgot where I was. It's good at 4K and low light situations without getting too grainy. So there we go. Now that we have the pros out of the way, it's on to the cons. I found that the UI was a bit clunky. It's quite annoying because when you're trying to find the settings that you want through pages and pages of settings, it's really hard to just do what you want it to do. It's not a point and shoot kind of camera. It is quite finicky, and I guess that is partially down to its size. You can't really fit many buttons on here. But even with its size, I feel like they could have refined the UI a bit. So that's just a personal gripe with mine. Another gripe with mine is no touchscreen. Now, you wouldn't really expect a touchscreen at such a low budget, but nevertheless, a touchscreen would help to clear up my UI gripes a lot. A touchscreen would be very useful on this, like it is on the GoPro. It makes things so much easier. Inconsistent FPS was another con, although that may be due to my SD card. So my mic just suddenly died and I needed to use the audio from the camera. I tried my best, but I am very sorry about the poor quality here. The mic isn't usable with this on. Another bloody annoying gripe. If they just had, I don't actually know how they could remedy that. Maybe if they integrated the mic somehow into their casing. Again, I'm not an expert, but it is a gripe or something that should be remedied. And although the battery life was okay, it still wasn't great. I'd like to see 3 hours, maybe a bit more, of a little small camera that shouldn't really be consuming that much power. 1.5 hours just isn't that great when you've got a lot to film. Say you take it out on a day, you're hiking up a mountain, you're going to be hiking for more than an hour. So if this could be 3 hours of battery life, that would be great. Just saying. I know there's only a small battery here, so perhaps fitting that much in maybe a bit of a challenge, but I don't think it's impossible. Finally, something that I haven't really mentioned before, the fisheye is rather substantial. Now there are settings in it to lessen the fisheye effect, like you can choose to go from a wide angle to a lower angle, or even like a normal, just normal setting angle, but it's still substantial. Would I recommend the Extral 4K action camera? Yes, definitely. Despite its cons, despite the gripes that I have with it, this is likely the best option that you're going to get at such a low budget. For £50 you can get so many amazing features really, packed into such a small device. You can take it anywhere, you can do anything that you really want to do with it, like if you wanted to use it at a party scenario, for example, if you went out clubbing, or if you went out with friends. Again, you could use this. If you wanted to use it skydiving, 1080p 60 FPS, you could do this. 720p 120 FPS, you can do this. Any scenario, dash cam, golfing, swimming with sharks, hang gliding, anything you can think of. This is a really good camera for it. There's such a low price as well. Like, I'm trying to wrap my head around how good of a deal this actually is. Now there's a few other knockoff brands of GoPros, like the SJ or JS8000 or something or other, and I can't personally comment whether it's better than them, Although I will say that this camera standalone offers fantastic performance at a fantastic price, and honestly I can't recommend it enough. So anyone who is looking to buy this, this is available in the description down below if you want to check it out. Thank you very much for watching this video, guys. Sorry I do ramble a bit. My name's Dom, I love your face, and I will see you guys in the next one. Terra.